Welcome back to ShopDog-Garage. It's time for another 57 Chevy video. Don't know everything that's going to happen today, but I got an odd suspicion that's popping out. It's kind of in the way, make it easier for him to work. Looks like he's been doing a little panel work here. I know as I walked on through, I saw he's got a few panels he's been beating in here. That drives good. That's nice to know. So let's see what he's been doing. Looks like he's okay. So you can see he's getting everything cleaned up. Everything looks sandblasted nice. Do whatever repairs he's got to do. I know he's been working the doors for quite some time. He's still got skin work to do, but that may actually wait until the car goes together. Because one of the things we're discovering is every time a car goes together, you wind up having to cut and fit all the gaps anyway, so why do that twice? So yeah, looks like the first thing we want to tackle is there's some missing metal here and not enough missing to justify buying a whole nother inner fender. You can see he's been fixing this one, but it is a very complicated shape. This is the new fender for the other side, for the driver's side. So there's a slot, a hole, and then a very complex set here that we think winds up down in here, but we'll deal with that later. I have a feeling that this face needs to be somewhat accurate, but you can see we've got that cut there, which we think is here. We got to figure out just how far that is in the opposite. You can see this fold here, so that's going to be right here, so at least we know where that face is. But yeah, unfortunately with curves like this, it's always hard to measure stuff. So we're just going to take and run a piece of masking tape from this sharp corner here all the way along to there, trim it, place it here, and see if we're even close. Because you can see this detail here where it pops up, and you can see the detail here. I think we're missing about that much of this, which is going to make making this patch even more fun. As we always say, aftermarket garbage is garbage, and assuming that the drivers and the passengers are supposed to really kind of be reflexive of each other, this corner is not even close to made the same as the factory corner. So we're using this as our reference point to kind of figure out where we need to be, and it looks like someone already trimmed it in line with where that would have been. So this is the point where it's going to come in. So we just, before we go cutting metal or figuring anything out, we got to kind of get a good picture in our brain where that goes, because we're doing everything backwards. Looking at this piece, this other one that he's got, we got the idea that we're probably going to have to make this in two pieces. One for the flat chunk that goes like this, and then one to make up whatever's missing. So I started a rough template of that, and now I've got it inverted here, and you can see that would give me that fold, well, maybe you can see. So that fold line, I've got a known corner. Now I'm going to mark the slot and the hole, and then I've got the inverse of my pattern. Alright, we're starting to figure out where in space this needs to be. The last thing I want to know is what this angle is, so we're going to make a tool to find that out. Okay, we couldn't find his little angle gauge, so we took two popsicle sticks and a bolt, and we made one. So I just kind of ground a little of the excess off. This will now give me a representative sample of what I'm looking for, because this isn't perfectly flat. So I'm just looking to make sure I'm going to get plenty. And then we can take that same exact angle here and see that we're not even close. So I've got a little work to do. This actually has to come out. That shows you what we got to make. We just now got to figure out how on earth we're going to do it. So there's quite a bit missing here. So must have been, well, you know, you see how this one got. I'm sure corrosion. Corrosion is not your friend. Here is our final mock-up of what we think we've got to build. You can see I've got that. I've got this coming around. You can see where that's going to end. The bigger thing is knowing where the folds have to be. See, that's fold, fold, fold. I don't think they have to be bang on, but obviously, you know, they still got to weld to what's here. But I think this plane needs to be pretty close to where it's going. A bolt obviously goes here. Not sure what the slot's for yet. I didn't take this car apart. So there is our template. It's going to be really fun, but we'll get as close to it as we can. But this is that weird shape that's cut here. Counting for the extra metal for that. We're coming around here. So this will weld to what's existing, and then this folds up, and then you weld those in. So I wish it was going to be that easy. While we're waiting to do that, we just yanked all that out, which when you don't care about that cable is a lot easier. So we cut that, but some of these bolts just weren't fun to get out. Got a little air there, and get the glove box light out of there, and then this harness is out. Okay, so we pulled that, we got that out. That all came out easy. Now finesse, what are you talking about finessing?
Let's see if we can get that firewall pad out. I think I got all the things now.
Yeah, those always come out in a chunk. At this stage, we've decided it's time. So we're going to pick the car up, start removing stuff so we can get this engine and trans out of the way. As you can see, we've got to pull the drive shaft, get this linkage, get the speedo cable off of here, and then we'll go ahead and get the clutch linkage pulled out of the way, and exhaust. I think that's everything left that's hooked up beside. It's up top. We've got to undo the throttle linkage. So, alright. Oh boy, that's awesome. They did some weird stuff back then. That's the e-brake setup. And then I had two clevises here that went back. Very, very strange. Of course, not as strange as the way they used to mount the motor. And how fun is that? Whoever did this 10-bolt swap in the past didn't bother shortening their drive shaft. So at this point, I've just pulled the caps off, and hopefully that should give me enough freedom to get it out of there. Didn't expect that. Even with the caps off, there's not a lot of room. We're pushing hard. So that's just got to come out when it slides. So now I'm looking at this shifter that obviously is an original shifter here. Just kind of looking. So the front one is the outside. The inside is the rear one. And since I've got to pull this bolt to get the shifter handle out, or I've got to pull this tail shaft, and I don't think I want to do that. So if I've got to do that, there's a spring and probably more stuff in there for the stack up. Uh-oh. New kitty is sitting here. And Mr. Mittens is wanting pets, and so is new kitty. Okay. There you go, buddy. There you go. Alright, so we went up and took a couple copies of it. So now, as we cut it out and play with it, if we screw it up, we still have our original. So from that, right there, took a little time, goofed around a little bit, and that is the patch I just bent up. I think it's going to be more than close enough for what we're trying to do, but we'll get it on here and ground before we put the slot and the hole in. So remember, there's a hole here and a slot here. So we'll deal with those in a minute. Okay, and when I place our template in there, you can see we've got more than enough material to get our hole and our slot. But let's let all the warping happen first, and then we'll put them in. So I think Harlan's going to do that, and I'll keep working here. Now, because of a bad swap in the past, we're going to be just drop the drive shaft. But I want to get the car down before. I've got the nuts pulled, but I don't want to pull those yet. I've got all of this pulled, but I can't until it's down. And then, of course, at some point, we're going to deal with those biscuits. That's going to be awesome. And I think the fuel line might still be hooked up. I know the carb linkages. We'll get the carb off of there and get a plate on. I think it's going to be good. Cleaning her up. See, he's cleaning that up. We think that's actually not too shabby. Oh, these weird motor mounts. That's a long reach up under for the other side of that bolt. They basically look just like sway bar end links. Those will be fun. Alright. So now, you can see we've marked where the slot and the hole go. Compare that down here. You can see, kind of looks like that. Kind of looks like that. Okay, so we've got to start on our slot and hole. And then what I just did was came over here. I found a bolt that shows me pretty exactly how wide that slot needs to be. Whoop, got stuck. And you can see I'm almost there. I just don't want to make it more than I have to. And then I'll find out the right size for that. I drilled it pretty close, but a little undersized. I wanted to find out. There we go. That's ready to be blasted and cleaned up. So we're pretty happy with that. This should be the mirror of that guy down there. And nice and sturdy. Looks pretty good. And the best part is, it goes somewhere no one will ever see anyway. But you got to try to do a good job everywhere you can. Yeah, you did this weird shape. Well, that drive shaft, if you recall, pushing on that transmission, if you recall, means these mounts are under a little stress. I finally got the bolts out of the one on this side. Now I get to come and do these. We've got some blocks under there just in case things fall further than we want. But you can see I've got those pounded most of the way through. This goofy style of mount, I'm glad they'd stop doing that right away. Alright, took some doing, but those are all out now. The only thing holding this up, well, you know, besides some chains, is those front mounts. So put a little stress on her and let's see what happens. I do have the distributor cap off, but that's it. Okay, that's actually coming up better than I thought it would. Oh, we're hitting something hard now. So, okay. I think the next thing we got to do is pull these silly ears. Okay, she did not want to come out, and she obviously made a mess since we didn't drain the trans. That drive shaft being too long, that was the problem. We should have looked into that further. Anyway, yeah, here's that other bolt from the tail shaft I had to pull to get the shifter out. But we have that bolt. Okay. Maybe a little dirty and grimy, but this motor runs great. There, motor on the floor. Gotta tell you, moto feet are always worth the investment. They sure work out nice. There, that came out. Could have been a lot harder. Could have been a lot easier. That drive shaft really, that was a big problem for us. But we got it. Those weird tranny mounts, they were not our friend. Problem is, these mounts are really worn, so that moved way more than it should have. So every time I was trying to pry on the one bolt, they were just kind of twisting in there. In an area where it's really hard to get in there. Yeah.
What is that?
What do you mean, what is that? That's the little seal for the clutch fork.
What?
That's the clutch fork.
Why does it have a...
It has a little rubber seal on it.
This band?
Yeah. Huh. Look at that. It's kind of nice when you don't know what you're doing, but you still somehow make it work. So, pretty confident in that. He's pretty happy with that. No idea why, wherever this fender came from. The guy just cut random bits off of it. Probably to fix what he needed fixed. So, but at least we don't have to reuse that. So, obviously the staple holes from those little flaps, those can get pounded in. Yeah, so that's coming along. Motor's out, tranny's out. There's a big old mess. Sorry about that. Drive shaft is right there. Cantilevered against that e-brake brace. It's not going anywhere. Next time the car's up, we can pull it out. this point, I think that's going to call it for the night. I'm getting tired and old. But, yeah. So, we'll toss her over to Old Shop Rex. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And see? Oh, that's a 3-speed transmission. You don't see many of those anymore. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been another Shop Rex approved video. Thanks for watching.